The fourth console generation arguably represented the pinnacle of 2D gaming. For many, these were the glory days. The SNES and the Mega Drive were battling for supreme video game dominance, and Nintendo and Sega were pushing each other to new heights of quality and innovation. Clearly, developers were finding incredible new ways to make games look, play, and sound far better than they had any right to. It was a fascinating time to be a gamer. Sometimes, however, these developers would use their artistry and know-how to decidedly sinister effect. That's right, while 16-bit consoles could build worlds as beautiful as they are magical, they could also bring our worst pixelated nightmares to life, especially when it came to intimidating boss encounters. So for this list, we've dug through some of the grisliest games of the 16-bit era to find the most morbid, vomit-inducing, and downright unsettling bosses that ever graced our CRT screens. Prepare yourselves, we're about to navigate the murkiest depths of 2D depravity. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are the 10 most disturbing 16-bit video game bosses. Number 10. Hydra, Shinobi 3, Return of the Ninja Master. The third and final Shinobi game for the Mega Drive, Shinobi 3 Return of the Ninja Master, brought more advanced graphics, cool set pieces, and outrageous bosses to the ninja mix. Protagonist Joe Musashi is once again tasked with defeating the enigmatic and powerful criminal organization Neo-Zed. This time, they seem to be involved in some unethical biological experimentation. The third stage of Shinobi 3 Return of the Ninja Master is rather ominously called Body Weapon, and takes place in a dimly lit laboratory with rows of specimen tanks in the background. If there's one thing I know from my gaming career of exploring dimly lit laboratories with specimen tanks in the background, it's that those specimens won't be staying inside their tanks for too long. True to form, Joe soon finds himself beset by all manner of unspeakable abominations. What could be worse than a mutant-infested laboratory, though? Well, the sewers underneath it, apparently, because that's where Hydra is encountered. This festering giant is first seen in the background attempting to target Joe with projectiles. It then gets up close and personal, rising from the muck to attack with mouth lasers and big grabby fingers. Also, throughout the whole affair, Joe is constantly sinking into whatever unspeakable residue is lining the floors and walls. Honestly, stuff like this is why I never bothered becoming a ninja. Number 9. Thrax, Secret of Evermore. A top-down RPG with real-time battles, Secret of Evermore for the SNES tells the story of a boy and his shape-shifting dog who are transported to the mysterious world of Evermore. Unusually, the game was released in the US and Europe, but never actually made it to Japan. Throughout the adventure, the boy and dog explore the realms of Evermore, which are based on different time periods. These include Prehistoria, where the dog takes the form of a feral wolf, Gothica, where the dog takes on the form of a stylish pink poodle, and Omnitopia, where the dog takes the form of a toaster? Anyway, we're focusing on Prehistoria for now, because that's where the gross boss lives. Encountered in a maggot-infested tunnel system, this entomophobe's nightmare takes the form of a gigantic stationary bug with flailing appendages and lots of spiky bits. While Thrax's chitinous form, repulsive mouth parts, and penchant for dispensing giant maggots are all nasty enough, it's those bulbous, milky eyes that are really going to haunt your nightmares. It also doesn't help that in order to defeat Thrax, you have to actually go inside its tooth-like ribcage to attack its exposed heart. Really should have just got the exterminators in long before it got this bad, really. Number 8. Jaws, Super Turrican 2. Have you ever thought how horrible it would be to get swallowed by one of those big worms from Dune? Well, Super Turrican 2 took that thought and ran with it. This SNES exclusive shooter is a fast-paced alternative to the likes of Contra, and it borrows the grappling hook mechanic from Bionic Commando. This gives the running, blasting, bullet-dodging action a welcome extra layer, opening up new strategies and set-piece opportunities. The first world of Super Turrican 2 is known as Sand Planet, planet and consists mostly of ruined cities and rolling desert dunes. One part of the stage is even fought across the backs of leaping worm-like creatures, their ugly faces and toothy maws looking capable of mashing a small tank to smithereens. They are, however, only a precursor to the true horror that lurks beneath the sand. The underwhelmingly named Jaws leaps forth from the desert, attempting to swallow the protagonist whole. Dwarfing the previously encountered worms, this creature looks capable of sinking whole cities, and its cavernous gullet looms in the background for the entire fight. Players must blast the creature's probing tongue as they stare past its rigid maw into the black pit of a digestive system that awaits below, all while the screen spins around in nauseating fashion. Oh god, now I know how those spice miners felt. Oh, jeez. Number 7. Death Evan, Breath of Fire 2. Breath of Fire 2 is a SNES RPG in which the player takes the role of Ryu, a young ranger who sets out to save the world from a demon invasion. Some of those demons really are something too, and the game has its fair share of abominations to put to the sword. Death Evan, however, is the demon behind the demons and the final boss of the game. Malice incarnate, this blue mass of horns and tentacles seeks to destroy the world and everyone in it. At first glance, he looks like a fairly standard pixelated demon. An intimidating boss, but nothing we haven't seen before many times. Upon closer inspection, though, you start to notice some rather disturbing features. Said disturbing features extend from between his legs and have mouths on them. This array of protrusions, shall we say, combine to kindle some unwelcome thoughts. Considering his squatting stance, he looks like he's giving birth to a multitude of blind, hungry worms, and that's a tame interpretation. Death Evan's strange name comes from his early appearances as an old-robed man named Evan, who is initially polite before his true nature is revealed. And you know, this whole thing might have been avoided if someone had actually checked under those robes. Well, then again, I don't think I'd like to see. Number 6. King Crimson, Midnight Resistance. Midnight Resistance for the Mega Drive is another game that borrows a lot from the Contra series. The story is completely different though, concerning drug cartels instead of alien invasions and terrorist uprisings. Protagonist Johnny Ford is in search of his kidnapped father, who developed a serum to cure people of addictions. And that's bad for the cartel business, you know? What follows is a bullet-saturated jaunt through such standard 90s video game locales as military bases and lab installations, laying waste to enemies that are mostly robotic or military in nature. Towards the end of the game, however, things get a little bit more biomechanical. This all comes to a head, a big disgusting red one, when King Crimson is finally encountered. This hovering, furious-faced obscenity attacks by barfing, quivering masses of stringy bile at you. Once the head is defeated, the brain still fights on, using grotesque brain worms as its primary attack. And remember, this is essentially a cartel leader and not some kind of omnipotent mutant overlord. Seriously, kids, don't do drugs. Not even once. Number 5. Gigas, Earthbound. Possessing a comedic and satirical tone and featuring locations reminiscent of cartoonish American suburbs, Earthbound seems too light-hearted to put the willies up anyone. However, this offbeat SNES RPG had an infamously creepy boss that sent shivers down many a spine over the years. A cosmic embodiment of madness and evil named Gigas. This terrifying alien entity is able to bend time and space to try and defeat protagonist Ness. It uses its corrupting alien powers to warp the mind of Ness's jealous neighbor, Pokey, turning him into a brainwashed pawn in Gigas' plan to envelop all of reality in infinite darkness. And you thought your childhood was rough. Even knowing all this wouldn't prepare you for Gigas' disturbing appearance, though. This swirling miasma of blood-red vapor forms a hideously contorted face, giving Gigas the aura of some kind of possessed painting or tortured phantom. As the battle continues, the faces multiply and distort, all while eerie, uncomfortable sounds play through your speaker. The writers do a great job of making things seem absolutely hopeless, but eventually, humanity staves off the encroaching darkness. Thanks, kids. Now go to bed. It's still a school night, you know. Number 4. Mother Alien, Contra Hardcore. It's finally time for Contra itself to make an appearance in this list, and the series has no shortage of mutated creatures and mechanical monstrosities that would be right at home on this list. Contra Hardcore especially nails the spectacle as well as the gameplay, and it provided us with some truly iconic, intimidating, and grotesque foes. Mother Alien is our choice to represent the series here. The result of a failed experiment with an alien cell, this gargantuan lady has an uncannily human face, made all the more off-putting by tumorous growths and grotesque appendages. What truly takes the horrible alien cake, though, is what happens when you start to inflict damage. Her oddly serene smile distorts into an expression of inhuman rage as the protagonist's bullets hit home, and eventually the mockingly human visage is peeled off altogether to reveal the horrible toothy mug beneath it all. It's quite ironic, really, that the mother alien ends up having a face that not even a mother could love. I almost feel bad for her, except I don't. Kill it now! Number 3. Babyface, Dynamite Headdy. Mega Drive gem Dynamite Headdy was developed by Treasure, who are more well known for awesomely epic boss encounters rather than disturbing ones. With that said, Dynamite Headdy definitely has a subtly sinister side. In the game, Headdy has to save peaceful puppets from an evil puppet king and his evil puppet followers. He does this by bopping enemies with his puppet head and by equipping a number of head-based power-ups. With all of these living puppets and detached heads being thrown around, it might sound like a horror show already, or at least a scene from Labyrinth, but the game is, for the most part, bright, funny, and charming. That is, until Babyface comes along. A different kind of disturbing, this giant, uncanny, doll-like baby head looms out of the clouds at the end of Dynamite Headdy's shoot-'em-up interlude and immediately starts burping fireballs. Babyface is an unsettling and unexpected treat for unsuspecting players. Worst of all, though, is how it changes into a boy, then an adult, and then finally a shriveled, pale old man as it takes damage, reminding us of our inescapable mortality as we fly around with a cute little aeroplane head. Thanks, Dynamite Headdy. I wanted to fight a boss, not confront my own misgivings about how short life is. I'm starting to miss those hideous aliens. Number 2. Jennifer, Splatterhouse. In all honesty, pretty much any boss from the Splatterhouse games could have made this list. Built from the ground up to unsettle, repulse, and disgust, this series gained all of its relevance and notoriety by providing over-the-top violence and squirm-inducing body horror. Monster fetuses, corpulent mounds of flesh and teeth, skinless blood puppets, and even a demonic teddy bear all show up to claw their way into your blood-soaked nightmares. However, we've gone with the one that piles on the emotional and psychological distress, as well as causing you to lose your breakfast. And its name is Jennifer. Seriously, in the first Splatterhouse game released for the TurboGrafx 16, or PC Engine if you want to get outside of North America about this, protagonist Rick is looking for Jennifer, his girlfriend, who went missing inside a foreboding mansion. Powered up by a sinister sentient mask, Rick wades through countless unspeakable horrors to reach Jennifer, only for her to violently mutate before his eyes and attack. Begging Rick for help even as she tries to slaughter him, Jennifer is eventually defeated, changing back to normal but dying in his arms. As if all these slithering mutants, severed body parts, and exploding corpses weren't enough, they just had to go and tug at our heartstrings as well, didn't they? No, I'm not crying, let's do number 1. And number 1, Perfidy Jainaug. In Gynaug for the Mega Drive, known in America as Wings of War, which I at least know I am pronouncing correctly, players take control of an angel tasked with protecting the heavens from a demonic attack. It's a side-scrolling shooter, only with an angel instead of a spaceship or attack chopper, and the bosses are tortured abyssal horrors instead of, big tanks. The first main boss you'll come up against is this amalgamation of a man and a train that looks like Thomas the Tank Engine if H.R. Giger had tried his hand at 1980s British kids' TV. Another favourite is a bullet-spewing pirate ship that's actually just the hat of a colossal grimacing underwater corpse pirate. Jack Sparrow, this ain't. Perfidy, or Perfidi, I don't know, shows up much later in the game, however, and is truly the height of unsettling 16-bit boss design. This twisted abomination takes the form of an atrophied, tortured giant whose sinewy torso extends from well, you can see what that is. All we'll say is it looks like he's been through some really bad times, and it's making me squirm in my seat just looking at it. Still, I guess we can be thankful that Perfidy and Co. only appeared in 16 bits. Imagine this fellow rendered in full high-definition 3D on your 55-inch 5K television. No, actually don't, and neither will I. Let's both agree to never imagine that at any point in our lives. Thank you very much.